Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Lazy Mini Painting. I am Laz, your usually not too, quite foul-mouthed host, actually. I've started a few seconds early just so I can make sure I get my tea. So, cheers. Now we can pop that down out of the way for a second. And we're ready to start. So this morning we have, today, because I don't know what time it is for you. So today we have issue 32 of the Combat Patrol magazine. We do get 2 paints, which in this case are another pot of, I'll say another pot. I'm not sure if we've actually had a pot already, but we got Reikland Flesh Shade, which is quite a nice wash actually, a bit of a reddy, more of a red than a red brown. I should say more of a red than a brown, but it's kind of in between. It's quite a nice colour. Probably end up using it on some of these hammers. And we also get Auroch Flesh, which is quite a sickly green. Good morning, Twisted. How are you, mate? How are you? Apart from knocking out absolutely stupendous bases, which is your usual forte. So just going through this screen. So the Auroch Flesh is kind of halfway between the Ogryn camo, and so if you kind of mix Ogryn camo and a bit of Moot Green, you'd end up somewhere around there. It's not too far off Death Guard green, to be quite honest. It isn't too far off that at all. Now I should have more than one Reikland Flesh Shade somewhere, but I think I've only got one out on the desk at the moment, which is the one I got this morning. Or the one I got today, should I say. I have got another one in the paint box, and that paint box is getting full. So full that some of them I'm having to stay out now. Including that ivory that I just knocked off. So let's have a look at this edition. What do we get apart from the paints? So I've got a feeling it's going to tell us where we're going to use these paints. And then it's going to go through some more story stuff for us. So yeah, updating your models using the paints. And then it's going to tell us the Long War, the Traitor Legions, Bonds of Honor Part 8, which is the Silver Templar story. I'm not going to read that in case you're reading it yourself. And this is Part 8. I'm a bit late. And then for play, we get Shooting Phase, the Eldari Detachment Rules, and a tutorial for the Strands of Fate, which is the Eldari Special Rule. Ooh, you're sorting out that Dreadnought base. If anyone's wondering, there are pictures in the Discord. If you have a Ballistas Dreadnought and you're thinking it's on a monopose base, it doesn't have to be, and Twisted is proving that. Definitely. It's nothing like the base that I've got mine on. So let's have a look. What does it tell us to do? So to paint them, it's anything shading. So we're shading gold with Reikland Flesh. So that's all the trim, the Aquillas, any sword hilts, and any little finicky fine trim bits on the Eldar. So it's actually saying checked for all angles. So you're going to have to look around. So for an example, do I have anything nice for an example? You've got an arm missing, but you'll do. So in this case, it'll be Reikland Flesh Shade all around his shoulder pads, his chest, that little bit on there. But I'll turn him around and it would be down the back as well, and down the back of his legs. So anywhere that is gold, you're going to want to shade it with Reikland Flesh Shade. So that makes me think this is the first time we've got it in this set. Now we're using the Reikland Flesh Shade a lot, apparently. So not only are we doing the gold bits, so there we go. So the Dark Apostle, where is he? There he is. The one that I converted so he doesn't have a book anymore. Again, all the gold bits, and just like that other guy that I showed a minute ago, check around the back because there will be gold trim on the back as well. It's also telling us we need to use Reikland Flesh Shade on all the yellow as well, which is nice to know because I might have to come back and use it on some of these. That might just tone all that in the way I want it to. That could be nice. So that includes the little spotted yellow bits on the Tyranids. And there's only little bits, but you're going to have to go through all them, all 20 out of them, 5 of them, everything. Okay, so next it's going to tell us how to paint hair. So it's still start with Corax White, on the whole face, and then paint a little bit of hair around the top, Abaddon black. Once you've done that, you apply Rykon Flesh Shade over the white, and it should turn it roughly to a slightly tanned skin color. See if it gives us an actual... Yeah, right. It will do on this one when I zoom in a minute. Okay. So again, it's Rykon Flesh Shade over anything that could be classified as fleshy. So in this case, the Eldari that doesn't have a helmet, it's got his head, Flesh Shade on that. And the hands and head for these little chappies. So where he's got his hands crossed in front of him, like so. Paint 2 hands and a little bit around the back of his head. It also tells anywhere that's been heated. So the end of the flamethrowers, any exhausts, as it shows here on the bike, and the tips of the flamethrowers for the Infernus Marines. So as a work in progress, if we zoom in there, you can see that just by doing it white and adding the Rykon Flesh Shade, it does give skin tone to, well, flesh. A little bit. Actually, that looks like the guy from Dawn of War, doesn't it? Gabriel Angelos, I think it's called. Wrong layout, but it looks like him. Essentially, stick that in his hand and you've got Gabriel Angelos. Guess where that's going? That's going on a Terminator Captain now. But as you can see, it's slightly oranger on the yellow bits, and you'll get a closer look when you actually do it yourself, but the gold will be a little bit more defined having that run into the recesses. Good morning, Buzzard. Hey up, mate. How was you today? And this morning? So does it give us a look at the rest of them as well? Yeah, it does. That's not a bad idea for me to do. Basically, that's what my chaplain's going to look like, because my general scheme is black with blue shoulder pads. That's not too far from what my chaplain will end up looking like when I finally get around to painting. And it does go through everything else. So on here, it's like, have you shaded the chaplain's armor trim, which is obviously all the gold, as well as his Crozius and the exhaust section. Check your Farseer from all angles to make sure you're getting all the correct places in gold. Check the backs of these guys as well for little yellow dots and gold dots. Same with these. Look, if you look at this guy, he's got loads of little gold trim, loads of areas. Let's turn it around here so I can get it closer. So all these little bits here, even that little tiny bit on his leg, like there's a dot of Rykon Flesh Shade all the way over. What's the other guy got, by the way? I forgot what the other guy's got. So again, anything on here that has been painted gold will require Rykon Flesh Shade, and hands, face, all the same. Paint it white, apply Rykon Flesh Shade, get a nice skin color. Not pale and pasty like me. So the painting section was pretty easy this time. It's just washing to bring out detail, which is not bad at all. Do I have anything I can do it on, just to give you an example? Anything that I don't want to, that I'm not too bothered about looking up, is the answer. Let's see. In fact, we do have, because have I already washed him? I'm just checking. No, I've not washed this guy yet. Excellent. So this is going to be more World Eater, but it does have plenty of gold on him for me to wash. I'm just going to give him a... Where to put the Rykon Flesh Shade is here. Always give it a shake. Always give it a shake. And get yourself a brush to apply your wash with. Now, if you're just using the brushes that came with it, you will have the medium STC brush, which is... No, that's the Army Painter one. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's talk about the Games Workshop one and grab the Army Painter brush. That makes sense, doesn't it? But essentially, it'll be a white brush. Yours might not have Army Painter on it. Yours should have like Games Workshop on it, but it'll be brush like this-ish. Now, you don't have to water the shades down. Just get a little bit on the end of your brush. And then anywhere that you want, that's the best area. There we go. The little loincloth is at the front. So if we just add the Reikland Flesh shade into there, and we don't want too much. We don't want too much pooling either. So we need to be careful. And we certainly don't want a cat hair on there. I've got cat hair on my brush. I don't know. So you don't want it to pull too much, but you want to make sure it does get into those recesses. And I'll grab that skull there on his knee as well. Now, if you do go over it a bit too much and you're like, no, that's too much. There's too much of the shade. You can go back over it with the original color just to get the higher edges again. But you just go through all the trim with the Reikland Flesh shade, and you should nicely pop into the recesses. Just pull around all the little divots just to give it a bit more of a... I mean, it still looks shiny at the moment, but once it dries, that will actually look a lot better than what it did. Even though it looks really, really shiny still, it is gold underneath after all. But that's how you do it. It's just a tiny bit on your brush and then over the gold bits, not letting it pull too much. Otherwise, it will look a bit weird. As I could probably do with doing it over all of this one, to be quite honest, with him being red. I could get away with doing it all the way over his leg. And it'll help bring that out as well. I've seen bits that I've missed. That's not good. He is only a work in progress, this fella, so I said it's a test for how I'm going to do my World Eaters. See, this is one of the few Chaos ones that I've built that I will be keeping as is. I'll leave the other Chaos models I may be stripping down, like the ones that I've painted as Thousand Suns or Night Lords. Probably the Night Lord one, because he's got a whopping huge chain axe. So yeah, once you've done that, it should be a nice... And poppy out now. And the difficult bit I'm going to have is getting the end of his chain blade, because I have done quite bright silver down the back of it there. So just to get that one line, it's going to be a little bit difficult. Not impossible, just a little bit difficult. And again, make sure you turn it around, get the other sides. And anywhere else that's slightly hidden. If you can get your brush in there. If you can't get your brush in there and you can barely see it unless you're putting it under a microscope, the way I test it is I put it where it would be on tabletop. So in this case, more like that angle, and I have a look round. And if it's under there, unless you're getting the model and like, oh, you've missed a spot, then tabletop ready. That looks more than ready for a tabletop as far as I'm concerned. I can do more on it. I can put Norton oil on his pistol. I can brighten up the plasma a bit. I can re-highlight up some of the bone pieces. That'll be moving up to the next stages, but as a tabletop ready, that's blue, silver, gold, red, ivory, 3 colors. More than happy enough to be able to put that on a tabletop. Same with the Space Bears base 3 colors. Not gone into overly detailed yet. I mean, I will progressively build them all up as I go through and get better, but the 3 color minimum works. Pop him back down, and we'll pop him back up there. Up there. So he's got for reference. So that's basically how you would use the flesh shade, and you would do that across every model that they've given you that you needed to. So as you've gathered, by the time we get to the last paint issues, you're going to have a lot to go back through, which is not fun. I've done batch painting for large groups, and it takes ages, and it's mind-numbing. So try and get it up and done as quickly as you can, and that way you've not got a huge backlog. Just out of personal experience, that is, from painting the Space Marines. It took too long to actually get around to painting them, and by the time I did, I had 200 to paint from grey upwards. That was essentially the first year of this channel, was just painting Space Marines. So next section of the magazine is The Long War. Now, this is basically the Chaos versus Imperium, is the Long War. So over thousands of years, the galaxy has felt the malice of the Chaos Space Marines, who see their battles as part of a single long war against their enemies. Though their actions are not centrally coordinated, they nonetheless see each of them as part of the effort to win the victory that ought to have been theirs so long ago. Because they lost the Great Crusade, the Horus Heresy. Yeah, they're whinging about it. It's like, we should have had this. It's like, tough, you lost. And they're carrying on now. So every fight they have, they just think he's carrying on that war. Not right in the head. They try chaos from the start. So let's get the rest of it. Where are we? Following their defeat at the Siege of Terra, the Chaos Space Marine legions fled into the Eye of Terror. So you've got Terra, which is Earth, and the Eye of Terror. God, they like this. Good morning, Captain. Good morning. I'm not interrupting work, am I, mate? I hope not, but thank you for joining us. So why do you think that's just two words? 2 words. Very slight different spelling. Pretty much pronounced the same. No worries, Captain. Don't work too hard. They don't pay you enough. So, yeah, this Chaos Space Marines legions flew into the Eye of Terror, where they knew loyalist forces would not follow them. In this nightmarish hellscape, the warp overlaps with the material universe, and supernatural energies twist and distort the very fabric of reality. In such a place, madness reigns and the laws of physics are meaningless. Even time itself is subject to the whims of the dark gods. And while 10,000 years have elapsed since the end of the Horus Heresy, for those within the Eye of Terror, it may only have been a few centuries, years, or even days. So yeah, it's completely messed up. As a result, many of the Chaos Space Marines that wage war on the Imperium today are the very same traitors who fought against the Emperor millennia ago. For them, the war has never ended, and the hatred and bitterness still burn strongly. They are salty because they lost. This little section here is "Let the Galaxy Burn." The rage, bitterness, and lust for power that first drove the traitor legions to their heresy has remained undimmed for the thousands of years since they turned their back on the Emperor. Now twisted by the power of chaos, they are even more driven to tear down the Imperium. Yeah, super salty. This is what happens if you don't learn how to be a good winner and a good loser. But you can't really be a good winner and a good loser in war, but still. Good morning, Ali. Good morning. No, I don't know how long I will be on today. It is just one issue, but I am trying to read through the actual issue itself so I can get this. Ooh, we've got lots of different Marines. So I might be back on. I might still be on when you get back. I hope so. If not, then drop me a message if you want to know anything. But I'll slow down a bit, have a drink. And yes, I know I have a very large cup. So, vengeance writ large. For thousands of years, the Long War has been fought by the traitor legions and the loyalist Space Marines. Fueled by the malice of the Chaos Space Marines, this ancient conflict shows no sign of slowing. So they give us some models. So Chaos Lords, in this case, cunning strategic commanders and mighty warriors in their own right. On this side, we have a captain armed with Phobos armor. He's perfectly equipped for recon and infiltration. So he's in the lighter Mark 10 armor there. And he's in full. Probably Mark 6. Probably. Because that would have been what they was using towards the end of the Heresy. And it's now been modified for Chaos, of course. And we have veterans of the First Company bring valuable combat experience to the Space Marines. Now, this is a Sternguard veteran, which is the range variant of veterans. You get Vanguard veterans, which are the ones that like choppy. And then you get Terminators, which are just walking tanks. Either the range variant like this one, or these are proxies, these artificial Games Workshop models, or the assault variant like Hammer and Shield that I have for here. So yeah, those ones are all proxies. That's a genuine model. So you'll have some of these. All these are unit of 5. So the guy with the sword, the guy with the assault cannon, and 3 with fists and Stormballer. What you won't have is any of these. You won't get any assault terminators. They've not even brought the new model out yet, which sucks. Also, coming down again, we have Warpsmiths. Warpsmiths possess mastery of infernal mechanical engines and devices. So they're the Tech Marines for the Chaos side. This guy in white, which we got in the last magazine set, I think. I'm not sure if we got the Apothecary Biologus in this one. We may have got the Apothecary Biologus, which is the slightly chunky version. But apothecaries are medics who minister to the wounded, dying, and dead on the battlefield. And then we get slightly more of the harder hitting stuff and the lesser units. So in the case of this one, the Possessed are Chaos Space Marines who have blended with demons from the Warp. So it's a Space Marine and a demon all merged into one with power armor and extra running and fightiness. It's good for the Chaos side. On this side, we have the heavily armored aggressors. Can be used to hold positions and breach enemy lines. Now, they're relatively short range, either a 12 or an 18-inch range, depending whether they're using bullets or fire. But that extra chunky armor gives them more wounds, extra toughness, more difficult to kill. So coming through the actual dating, as you've got it here. So date M32, Millennium 32. The Demon Primarch Perturabo conducts a sacrilegious ritual cursing Forge World toil and causing its mechanical creations to twist into demon-possessed horrors. Not nice. Not nice at all. Millennium 34. A Night Lord's fleet slips past the Cadian defenses and spreads terror across the Scarus sector. A series of boarding actions by the White Consul Space Marines brings their halts to a raid. Their raids to a halt. Yeah, that's better. So 1,000 years later, in M35, the World Eaters invade the industrial world of Irad 4. The Ebon Knights mount a defense and fight, and the fighting is so brutal that only a handful of either side survive. It's no good. I mean, taking out a Space Marine is hard enough. To take him out to that degree is, in the law, something only another set of Space Marines can really do. And now we jump forward 6,000 years to M41, which is kind of the current setting. The World Eaters invade the world of Armageddon. Imperial forces, already struggling against a rebellion on the planet, finally push back the invaders with help from the Grey Knights. That's when Angron gets banished in the first war of Armageddon that they don't talk about. You get another 2 after that, but it's Orcs that invade. And I think we're going back there again with Orcs and Chaos soon in a future narrative. So staying again in M41. Through the work of Chaos forces, the galaxy is split asunder by the Cicatrix Maledictum. The enemies of Chaos are cut off from their allies, and a new age of terror dawns. Wonderful. So within that 1,000 years, because as I said, that's around about the current setting. Yeah, Angron's come back, Fulgrim's come back, Mortarian's come back, Magnus has come back. So it's all 4 Primax specifically for the deities of chaos, and we've had Roberta Gilliman and the Lion L. Johnson come back from the loyalist side. So lots of big named characters and Primarch characters have come back all within that setting, and it's fun. It is fun. We get lots of things to go on now. We get lots of nice new models, lots of nice new units to play about within the board. Traitor Legions is the next set. So this is Chaos Space Marines Part 3. Traitor Legions. The Traitor Legions are the sworn enemies of the Emperor of the Imperium. In the thousands of years that they have fought, each has developed their own culture drawn from their former identities as Imperial Legions, but corrupted by their bitterness and by exposure to the taint of chaos. In the ages that have passed since so many of the Emperor's most faithful warriors fell into darkness, the Imperium has tried but never succeeded in wiping out their scourge. Instead, these heretic Astartes, twisted reflection of the best of the Imperium, have continued their blasphemous worship of the Chaos powers and have continued to prosecute their barbarous wars. Each of the different groups has different desires and different methods. Some want only power, sacrificing themselves and others in pursuit of ambition. Some are driven by ancient grudges and resentment, whereas others still are driven by religious fervor and a desire to spread the worship of chaos across the whole galaxy. A little taster here of one of the legions, which is the Alpha Legion. Why they choose that one, I don't know, because anybody could be Alpha Legion. You just don't know it. The Alpha Legion are seasoned warriors who place subtlety and misdirection at the forefront of their plans. So masterful is their use of psychological warfare that none are truly sure whether reports of their deeds are fully accurate or whether they are lies and rumors. Deliberately spread to mislead enemies as to the Alpha Legion's tactics and capabilities. First-hand accounts are rare, but those who survive an Alpha Legion assault speak of false fronts, sudden attacks, and unexpected ambushes. They're also not sure if they're truly chaos or if they're secretly loyalist either. Kind of the opposite to the Dark Angels, whereas everyone thinks they're loyalist, but some of them could be traitor. And this is the other thing, everyone thinks they're traitor, but some of them could still be loyalist. You've got to have a mirrored version of it on each side. Basically, if you're going to do a good side and a bad side, you get a mirrored of each one. Word bearers. These are the ones that started it all. These ones are the ones to blame for it all. The word bearers are fanatical followers of Chaos Undivided. Most of their campaigns have religious motivations, and they will fight to the last soldier to spread chaos as far across the galaxy as they can. So devoted to the dark gods are they, that they willingly give their bodies over to possession and summon legions of demons to fight alongside them. To do battle with the word bearers is to face the full horrors of chaos. Yeah, they're full-on fanatical nutcases. Iron Warriors. I don't mind these ones. These ones are okay-ish. The Iron Warriors are expert siege troops who use attrition and heavy weapons to overcome enemy defenses. They are not as devout as many Traitor Legions, having betrayed the Imperium more from their feelings of being used and neglected by the Imperium than any devotion to the Chaos God. So those are less likely to have, although they're still going to get tainted by the warp, they're not getting away from that. They're more likely to be as they were. They didn't go, yeah, we're going to join you. They just went, we don't want to be with them. What, you're fighting? Fine, we'll join you for now. And they helped out, and then when it went bad, they ran. Now we have Batman. We have the Night Lords. Sorry, pardon me. The Night Lords are raiders and pirates who seek power and riches above all else. They are experts in sowing terror and confusion amongst their foes, and they revel in the fear of others. Before engaging the enemy head-on, Skies are darkened by ash clouds and infernal screaming ring out over Vox networks, weakening the resolve of their adversaries. It is then that they strike in vicious assault. So yeah, they spread fear. If there are other Chaos Legions, they will cover the World Eaters later on, I should imagine, because we will be getting a combat patrol for them. Bonds of Honor, Part 8. That's the start of the next Silver Templars section. Oh, it's got a little Corsair on it. I think I have one of them somewhere. I have some Corsairs somewhere. I'm sure I've got some extra sprues as well that I might be able to do with my Elder. Oh, I've just thought of a good idea. Never mind. That's for another day. We'll sort that out again. So if you're reading through the Bonds of Honor, I'm not going to spoil this section for you. Please go through and read it. Nice big double pacer. That brings us to the play section. I'm getting through this one relatively quickly, aren't I? Well, about half an hour. Is that it? No, I'm slowing down a little bit. I need a drink. All this reading and talking makes the throat dry. So, shooting phase. Well, that's what we're up to now. All right. Guns, thunder, and shrapnel flies through the air. Bursts of muzzle fire, flare and beams of last fire illuminate the fog of war, and spent ammunition cartridges litter the battlefield. Yep, that sounds like someone being shooting. In your shooting phase, if you have one or more eligible units from your army on the battlefield, you can select those units one at a time. So you can't select multiples all at once. And shoot with them. So you select one unit, they shoot, they can't shoot, so you can't select them. Select the next unit, he shoots. And you work through and resolve each one as their own individual little combat. Each unit can only be selected to shoot once per phase. Once all the units you have selected have shot, progress to your charge phase. A unit is eligible to shoot unless any of the following apply or you have a special rule to overrule it. So if that unit has advanced this turn, they can't shoot unless they have assault weapons. If that unit has fell back this turn, they can't shoot unless they have a rule that says they can fall back and shoot. Usually that'll come with some kind of negative modifier or some kind of caveat as to what you have to do with that. Whether it's a -1 to your hit roll or something equivalent. Just to make it, because obviously you've done an action that normally you wouldn't be able to shoot afterwards. Like sprinting forward rather than just walking forward with your gun trained. It makes it a little bit more difficult, so you might get a -1 to you to hit. Which it seems fair, moving an extra 6 inches up to an extra 6 inches, a -1 to hit if you want to shoot afterwards. But that's only on assault weapons. So each time a unit shoots, before any attacks are resolved, you must select the enemy units that will be the target for all the ranged weapons you wish its model to make attacks with. So in this case, I'd have to choose the melters and the anti-air guns. I'd have to say that they're going that unit, or they're all going to that unit, or split them and let my opponent know where he's shooting. If a model has more than one ranged weapon, it can shoot all of them at the same target, or it can shoot them at different targets, but cannot split attacks from the same weapon across more than one target. So if his melter guns are going at one target, I can't split them. The melter guns go in there. The anti-aircraft gun going there. I can't do one shot there, one shot there, one shot there. It's all that gun shoots at that thing, and that gun shoots at that thing. Where are we up to? Right. Similarly, yeah. Similarly, I can't talk. I'm sorry. Right. I'm going to bring it up just so you can see. That word there, if it'll zoom in. If a unit has more than one model, these models can shoot the same or different targets. In any case, when you select a target, you must declare which models will target that unit with which weapons, before any attacks are resolved. If any of these weapons have more than one profile, you must choose between, and you must declare which profile is being used. So in the case of like plasma guns, if you're overheating it or overcharging it, you've got to tell your opponent before you do so. So before a unit shoots, select the targets of all the ranged weapons. At least one model in the target unit must be visible to the attacking model and within range of the weapons being used. Obviously, there's no point picking something 30 odd inches away when you've got an 18-inch range. You're not going to hit. Models with more than one ranged weapon can shoot them at the same or different targets, but models cannot split attacks from the same weapon across more than one target. Models in the same unit can shoot the same or different targets. Okay, so that's the summary version of all that. There is an annoying rule called lone operative, which is this one. Usually things like assassins, certain leader units. But yeah, they're a pain in the backside. Unless part of an attached unit, a unit with the lone operative rule can only be selected as the target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 12 inches. So you've got to be right up close. That's what makes certain models really annoying. Like there is a lieutenant with combi weapon that acts as a lone operative, and yeah, as long as he stays behind a unit and stays out of the way, you're not shooting him. Okay, so actually make ranged attacks. The shooting unit's models now makes attacks using their ranged weapons. Each time a model shoots with a ranged weapon, it will make a number of attacks equal to the A characteristic on the weapon. So let's have a look. Barbguards. They have ranged weapons. They have D6 attacks. So you'd roll D6. That'll tell you how many attacks it gets. Let's find a more simple one. So I should have somebody with just a straight stat line but range, please. There we go. Terminators. So in the case of Terminators, if it was Terminator Sergeant, because he's got the power sword, that's how you know, he would fire a Stormbolter, which is 24-inch range. I mean, he can't even get that up there. It does say 2, so it'll be 2 attacks from him. That makes it easier to do off this, doesn't it? You make 1 hit roll for each attack being made. So in this case, if I was shooting the Terminator, I'd roll 2 dice to make 2 hit rolls. If you've selected more than 1 target for your unit to shoot at, you must resolve all the attacks against 1 target before moving on to the next target. So if that was a full unit of Terminators, I could pick the 5 Stormbolters to go against this unit and then the 1 assault cannon to go against the big guy. In that case, I would resolve all the 5 Stormbolters against these first. Once that's resolved, I'll resolve the assault cannon against the Dreadnought. Note that provided at least 1 model in the target unit was visible to an attacking model and in range of that attacking model's weapon, when the target unit was selected, that weapon's attacks can still be made even if no models in the target unit remain visible to or in range of it when you come to resolve those attacks. For an example, because models in the unit have already been destroyed by attacks made with other weapons in the attacking model's unit. So if I was to choose the assault cannon and the Stormbolters to all fire at a unit, fire the Stormbolters first, and they picked off enough units to go, right, okay, you can't see this unit anymore. And you still get to resolve the attacks as though they were there with the assault cannon. He still gets to shoot because when you selected it, they were visible. Once you've resolved that unit, anything that's been removed from the table then, when you come to select a new target, if they're not visible anymore, then they're not visible anymore. You can't select them. But for the sake of when you pick the unit and pick the target, as long as they're visible at the point that you pick them, you can carry on with everything that you shoot. It's great. It's not as finicky as it used to be. So to give the brief summary here, which is the bullet points, when a model shoots a weapon, it makes the number of attacks equal to the attack's characteristics, resolve all attacks against one unit before moving on to the next. Resolve all attacks made with the same weapon profile before moving on to the next weapon profile. As I said, do all the storm bolters first and then move to the assault cannon. If a weapon was in range and its target was visible when selected, that weapon's attacks can always be made. So even if the storm bolters do take out the first 6 inches worth of models and puts it at 27 inches for the assault cannon can still shoot because when it chose, they were in range. There are some other annoying bits. So we have things like locked in combat. A unit is not eligible to shoot while it is in engagement range of one or more enemy models. While an enemy unit is within engagement range of one or more units from your army, you cannot select that enemy unit as a target for ranged weapons. So if you're locked in close combat, you're pretty much safe from shooting. Pretty much, not 100%. Monster and vehicle units are exceptions to these rules as described in the Big Guns Never Tire section, which is this big long section here. I will get to it in a moment. So units cannot shoot while in engagement range of enemy units, and units cannot shoot targets within engagement range of a friendly unit. So he's locked in combat with all them, and so he can't come over and shoot him with his pistol from over here. So no, I might hit one of my mates, even though they're not mates. But that's how it works. There is also another ability called Stealth. Some warriors are masters of disguise and concealment. If every model in a unit has this ability, then each time a ranged attack is made against it, you subtract 1 from the hit roll. So in the case of Space Marines, you need a 3+ to hit, but if you're taking 1 away, you need a 4+. So a little bit harder if they've got stealth. Not many units have it, and you'll notice the models and the units that generally have it, like infiltrators and the things you'd expect to be stealthy. You won't, very rare you'll find big, massive, hulking creatures with a stealth rule. Let's have a look at this Big Guns Never Tire then, shall we? Big Guns Never Tire. Monsters and war machines can dispense death from afar, even as they trample the masses before them. Monsters and vehicle units are eligible to shoot in their controlling player's shooting phase, even while they are within engagement range of one or more enemy models. Ranged weapons equipped by monster and vehicle units can target one or more enemy units that are within engagement range of, or even if other friendly units are also within engagement range of the same enemy unit. Each time a monster or vehicle makes a ranged attack, if each unit is within engagement range of one or more enemy units when it is selected to target, unless that attack is made with a pistol, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So if you are locked in combat with a monster or a vehicle and you want to shoot, you're taking 1 off the hit roll because you're trying to shoot out of melee. You can select an enemy monster or vehicle unit within engagement range of one or more of your units from your army as a target of ranged weapons. Each time a model from your army makes a ranged attack against such a target, unless that attack is made with a pistol, again, subtract 1 from it. So the little bullet point to summarize all that. Monster and vehicle units can shoot and be shot at even while they are in engagement range of enemy units. Each time a ranged attack made by or against such a unit, subtract 1 from the attack's hit roll, unless you're shooting a pistol. Pistols seem basically they're close combat weapons. That's it, done. You can shoot that in close combat. Ooh, that's it for the shooting phase bit. That's done. Yeah, so it seems pretty straightforward. You can shoot unless your enemy's in your face or you've done something that means you can't. Like running away from the enemy, you're not going to be able to stand there and take aim while you're running backwards. Or if you're running forwards, it's like you're not going to be D. Oh yeah, no, you're going to be running over, and so less accurate. So now we get to the Strands of Fate section. Strands of Fate is a special ability that allows you to use your Farseer's predictions to influence the course of a battle. Before the battle, your Farseer scries the future for knowledge of events to come. This was represented in the game by your fate dice, which are used to influence the outcome of certain actions. See, I've not used these before. I've not played Eldar, so this is all going to be new to me. Okay. At the start of the battle, make a Strands of Fate roll by rolling 12d6. 12! If you wish, you can re-roll all of these dice, but if you do, roll one less d6. You can continue re-rolling all of the dice in this manner, rolling one less each time you do until you are satisfied with the results rolled, or until you only have one dice left. When you're satisfied with the results rolled, those remaining dice become your fate dice for the battle. These results cannot be changed or re-rolled further unless a rule specifically states otherwise. Keep your fate dice to one side. This is your fate dice pool. Okay. A lot of words just to say you've got 12 dice that have set numbers down. Stick them to one side. Before making a dice roll for any model or unit from your army with the Strands of Fate ability, if you have one or more dice in your fate dice pool, you can use one of those fate dice. To do so, select one of those fate dice to substitute that dice roll. The dice that is being substituted is not rolled. Instead, the value of the fate dice is used as if it had been rolled. This counts as an unmodified dice roll for that purpose for all rules purposes. Right, so it's an unmodified roll, so you can still get modifiers onto it, pluses or minuses, depending whether you've fell back, you're shooting in combat, you've remained stationary with a heavy weapon. You can get modifiers both ways. Nice. Each fate dice can only be used once in this way. After using a fate dice, remove it from your fate dice pool and roll all remaining dice that are part of that dice roll, if any. So where can you actually use your fate dice? So you've got 12 of these dice. Where can you use them? You can use fate dice for any of the following types of dice rolls. If a dice roll requires 2d6, such as a charge roll, only one fate dice can be used. The remaining dice must be rolled as normal. So you can use it on a charge roll, but you can only use it for one of the rolls. In that case, you're going to want to be using one of your higher fate dice rolls, I should imagine. So if you've got something like an 8-inch charge, you're picking a 6. Just so you can, your next roll, if you get a 2, you make the charge. So you can use it on advanced rolls, battle shock tests, which is nice for leaderships, charge rolls, damage rolls. That's quite a big one. So if you've got anything with d6 damage, you can set the amount of damage from using your fate dice. That's a bit nasty. You're rolling to hit, whether it be with range or melee. Your saving throws, both armor and invulnerable, and your wound roll, which could trigger, both with hit and wound, you could trigger all sorts of abilities. If you've got enough 6s in your fate dice pool, you can trigger critical hits and critical wounds quite easily with both the hit and wound rolls. That's a bit greasy. They used to complain about me with the Space Marines getting rerolls, and these get to just pick the bloody number they want. That's just dirty, that. Okay, so Strands of Fate tutorial. To use the Strands of Fate faction ability, the player must generate fate dice. So, first roll, they roll 12 dice. In this case, you've got 1 6, couple of 5s, a 4, couple of 3s, and the rest are all 1s and 2s. So they've re-rolled them. So 1 dice less, but they've got a better roll. They've only got 2 1s, they've only got 1 2, they've got a 3, and then it's 4s, 5s, and 6s from there. So it's not a bad roll. So they take the second option and leave the first option. Pardon me. So fate dice roll for a d6. When using a fate dice on a d6 roll, you must declare that you are doing this before making the roll. You cannot decide to do this after making the roll. In this example, the Farseer is in combat with the Tyranid Prime. They substitute the dice for a fate dice, guaranteeing a hit, and then remove that dice they use from the dice pool. So he needs a 2+ to hit. He uses one of the 2s just to make sure he guarantees the hit, and then gets rid of the dice back into the normal section and carries on. fate dice for a 2d6 roll. So when using a fate dice on a 2d6 rolls, you can maximum of 1 dice out of it from your fate dice. The other dice must be rolled as normal. In this example, the Wind Riders are attempting to charge. The player uses a 6 fate dice as one of the d6 rolls, and then another as normal, rolling a 3. The 6 is then removed from the dice pool. So he automatically gets the 6, rolls the 3, that gives him a 9-inch charge. In this case, is more than sufficient to catch up to the Terminants. So it helps to just be able to guarantee stuff like that. So they're going to give us a battle tutorial using the Strands of Fate and the Oath of Moment, because if one side's getting their special rule, then the other side has to get their special rule. So Strands of Fate is an Eldari faction ability. It allows you to use the foresight of your Farseer to predict the future events. Before the start of the battle, you generate the predetermined outcomes of dice rolls. You can then apply these as needed in the battle as the battle unfolds. So in this example, we start at the beginning of battle round 2. Both players have moved their units forwards to take objectives and to engage the other side. Several units are clustered around objective marker 4, which is down here. Meanwhile, the Eldari player has free reign over objectives 1 and 5. The Space Marine player takes the first turn of this battle round. We also have a list of fate dice here for the Eldar player. The Eldar player has rolled twice to generate their fate pool dice. On the first roll, they rolled 12 dice. They chose to discard this and roll again. As there was a second roll, there are now only 11 dice. And in that, he has 1 1, 3 2s, 4 4s, a 5, and 2 6s. So he's got quite a selection, but he's got some not so good ones. And the rest are fine. So what have we got here? We've got Guardian Defenders at the top with a heavy weapons platform. And we've got the Farseer just underneath him. They're holding objective 1. Wind Riders holding objective 5. The Wraith Lord is bringing up the rear, and the other Wind Riders have moved forward to go contest objective 4. The Space Marine player has Terminator Captain, Terminator up there at the top, facing kind of going towards objective 5 and 1. Has Infernus Marines, which are now locked in with the Wind Riders, and a Terminator Librarian just on the other side of objective 4 from them. The Space Marines is outnumbered is what they are. He's going to get shot to hell by the Wraith Lord. Especially if you put a bright lens on it. Captain's going. They've probably not. They probably put a scatter laser on it because that's what they told you to do. So, Space Marines turn. The Space Marines are strong, but they are outnumbered by the Eldari force, which makes it difficult to contest the majority of the objectives. Since the first turn, they have moved forward and engaged enemy units. Some of their Space Marines have entered close combat, while others stand back to continue firing on the Eldari to wear them down. So, Space Marine command phase. The Space Marine player generates a command point, scores victory points, then checks to see if any units need battle shock tests. No battle shock tests are needed, and the command phase ends. Then it comes to the Space Marines movement phase. None of the Space Marines make any moves. Oh, okay. Eligible Space Marines fire on the Eldari force. In this case, it'll be the Captain and the Librarian if they're in range. And in the fight phase, the two players take it in turns to fight their eligible units, starting with the Eldari player once all available units have fought. The phase ends. So to use this, the Eldari picks the Wind Riders to fight. They succeed on making 2 hits. The player wants to ensure they inflict damage, so they elect to use a fate dice. They substitute a 5 for the wound roll, inflicting a wound and killing an Infernus Marine. Which is, boom, there he goes, off he goes. So now only these 3 are left. The 3 remaining Infernus Marines attack the Wind Riders. The Eldari player decides that it's really important that their Wind Riders survive. They use a 4 fate dice to automatically pass a saving throw, thwarting the Infernus Marines' attack. So not only did he use a fate dice to make sure they killed one, they used a fate dice to make sure they survived as well. The the Eldari's turn. Okay. In the Eldari command phase, they generate a commands point, score any victory points, and then check to see if any unit needs battleshot tests again. If no battleshot tests are needed, then you end the command phase. The Wind Rider unit that is, Eldari movement phase. The Wind Rider unit that was in engagement range with the Infernus Marines makes a fallback move. The second unit moves across the battlefield, taking up position above the Infernus Marines. In the shooting phase, eligible Eldari units fire on the Space Marines. Charge phase, Eldari player declares a charge with the Wind Rider unit that has just fired and with the Guardian Defender unit. Both charges succeed. Okay, so that's going to be a shooting and that's going to be the charge. Okay. In the fight phase, the two players take it in turns to fight with their eligible units, starting with the Space Marine player. Once all eligible units are fought, the fight ends. So, how the Eldari use Fate Dice in this section. After the first unit of Wind Riders has made a fallback move, the second unit opens fire. The player chooses to use one of their Fate Dice to substitute one wound roll for an automatic 5. One Infernus Marine is killed in the firefight. So now that unit of 5's come down, is now down to 2 men. They're going to need a battle shock test at the start of the next turn, or at the end of the next command phase. Then the Eldari player declares a charge against the captain with their unit of Guardian Defenders. Before making the charge roll, they substitute a 6 Fate Dice for one of the 2 dice. They roll a 4 with the remaining dice, and the charge is successful. I mean, that is really, because then you're going to use it, you can use it within the combat phase as well. But that is just, I mean, you run out of Fate Dice quickly if you're using that fast, but yeah, that's a lot. That's a real greasy way of just manipulating the battle, especially if you want to get a big main unit out of the way first. Could be a very useful little rule. So, Strands of Fate recap. Strands of Fate uses your Farseer's psychic abilities to see the outcome sort of rolls that will happen throughout the battle. Before the start of the battle, you roll 12 dice that represent the outcome of that your Farseer has seen. You can then apply these dice rolls throughout the battle whenever you decide you need to use them. So, things to remember. You generate your pool of Fate Dice before the battle. Make sure to write down the results before you move on. If you are unhappy with the initial roll, you can re-roll as many times as you like, but reduce the number of dice by 1 until you reach the minimum of 1. Once you use a Fate Dice, it is removed and cannot be used again. You can substitute a Fate Dice for many different types of rolls, but not all. So check that list on the other side just to make sure. If you would normally roll a single dice, then the Fate Dice replaces it. No roll is necessary. If you would normally roll 2d6, then the Fate Dice only changes 1 and you have to roll the second. And that, I believe, brings us all the way to the end of the issue. Because we get the Combat Patrol back page again. So that means the last thing we need to do is look at the very back of it to see what's coming in the next 2 issues. And we kind of know this from last week, but it's a part 1 and a part 2 for the next 2 issues where we'll get a full set of 10 Chaos Legionaries. It's essentially the ones that I've already got, so you will get things like this guy. I don't necessarily know if you'll get the auto cannon, but you will definitely get a heavy bolter. You will also get things like plasma guns, some specific iconography. So if you wanted word bearers, then stick a lot of books on it. If you want world eaters, then most things are going to have chainsaws, chain axes, and pistols. So there's going to be some where you will want all this iconography on the back, and there's going to be some that you don't. How you put them together throughout what you get on the sprue is up to you. These will try and tell you a specific way to do it. You might not agree. You don't have to agree. The great thing is you can put what you want on it. We might not get the rules on the little data cards that they give us, like these. Now, the actual Terminators, although they've got listed here a Storm Bolter and Assault Cannon, instead of the Assault Cannon, they can take missile launchers or Heavy Flamer, and we don't get the stat line for that on here. There were also an easy build one in this case, so you didn't get the weapons either. This is going to be the full sprue, so you will get heavy weapons, probably a missile launcher, a heavy bolter, maybe an auto cannon. Then you'll get things like a melter gun, a plasma gun, a flamer, as well as close combat weapons, bolters. You're gonna get quite a lot across those two sprues from those two issues. So that is an excellent little bargain. So for 20 quid, which is like $9.99 for that issue, $9.99 for that issue, you'll get a unit worth. Let's see if I can actually figure this out now. I say figure it out. I'm going to go look on Games Workshop's website and see how much they charge for that one unit of Chaos Legionnaires. So, Armies of Chaos. Chaos Space Marines, there we go. So for a unit of Legionaries, £42.50. So you're making, you're getting it for less than half price. That is ridiculous. $42.50 for that 10-man squad. $9.99 for that issue. $9.99 for that issue. And you get all that. Okay. If that's how it goes, that's how it goes. So the next two issues will be a 10-man squad. By then, hopefully, I'll finish these off, and then I can move them all off, and I've got room to do the 10-man squad on my desk. I hope. We're also going to... I know we get other stuff. What else do we get? I can't remember what else we get with... No, I know I have a list somewhere on the Discord. Okay. For some reason, it's not letting me search my general chat. Because I know the list is in my general chat on Discord somewhere. It's just much, much further up than I thought. It's been a while since it was posted. So much so that we've had loads of stuff going since. Yeah, I've had Clumsy and Karma join since then as well. And wow. Am I going that far back just to get this list? I'm going to have to because I want the list. I want to know what's... Because I know we get two forms of... I think we get two forms of demon engines spread across the two chaos factions that we will eventually get. So... if I can't find all the way up here the list that was... There we are. Okay. So... we'll get Hellbrute and Havocs and Terminators. So the Hellbrute is a demon engine. That's nice. And then we get a Mauler Fiend as well. So we're getting two demon engines in total across both the Chaos factions. A unit of Havocs, which I don't think would be very good. I don't think you've got anything equivalent in the World Eaters Force for Havoc. So they're just going to become some kind of close combat squad. And I'm going to end up with a lot of heavy weapons for Chaos. I can always use them for other things, though. Don't worry. Then what else? So, yeah, the Havocs and X. There are 2 issues of Legionnaires and 2 issues of Havocs, 2 issues for Hellbrute, unit of Wraithguard, and then Terminators. Terminators are only one issue? You're spreading the Havocs over 2, but don't know. And then right at the end, we'll end up with the Jackals, the Lord, and Juggernaut, more Jackals, Khorne Berserkers, spread 2 units spread over 4 issues. And then the last 2 issues are going to be the Mauler Fiend. It's going to be a while before I actually get around to doing my Chaos Force, because they're all going to be, every single one of them is going to be a World Eater. I'm just going to save this file just so I can come back and reference it later. If I actually save it to my PC, it's much easier than having to scroll up like in 6-7 months. So yes, we are. The next 4 issues are just going to be all chaos. So it's 2 issues to make these, 2 issues to make the Havocs, and then we end up with a couple more Eldar bits, which would be the Wraith Guards, and then we end up with the Hellbrute. So how much are Havocs? Havocs. No, it's Kill Team. I don't want a Kill Team. I want Havocs. Where are the Havocs? Oh, I could turn them into a chosen type set, I suppose. Havocs, £40. So it's still 50% saving. The fact that you're going to get 5 Terminators in a single unit for a tenner is ridiculous. That's a 75% saving. That's £40 for the unit of Terminators, and we're going to get a full unit, well, a 5-man unit for a tenner. That's awesome. The Hellbrute, which comes with the Chaos side, is again £40, and the Mauler Fiend is $52.50. So there's a lot of saving for Chaos players here to be had. A lot of savings. That's going to be awesome. Okie dokie. So I believe that's everything covered now. I'm sorry if you were back in time, Ali, and anybody who is here, thank you for coming to join me. Thank you for. In fact, I need to mute that before I do this, don't I? If I put any sound on my computer, it comes through straight away. I'm aware of that. I've figured that out now. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not exactly rocket science, but yeah, I figured it out. Everybody watching and everybody like this, but don't like the waffling at the end, fair enough. But if you want to leave a like, a subscribe, or a comment, it's all up to you. But other than that, I am done for today. So I'm going to leave you here. Drive safe, everyone, and I'm going to try and be up tomorrow for the Magical World of Sparkles and Oak. I found a tub to be doing stuff with, so I can put the plaster down for the flooring, and I can carry on painting the 2 models then. So look forward to seeing you tomorrow night, and drive safe.